leads, and I'm here to talk to you about how you can address your shin splints. There are lots of things that can cause shin splints, and one of the first things we talk about is the aspect of strengthening as well as adding that core strength into play. So everything on the total gym tends to add that element of core strength. I would like to take exercises that you already may be familiar with and add some tweaks onto them so that you can start to work the body in different ways and more functionally. So, starting off with squats. The first thing you can do is really focus in on what's going on through here and making sure that as you're coming down, you're not pushing through your back to come up. So you're keeping this stabilized. Pelvic floor, belly, low back, shoulders away from the ears, everything's being active. The next is if you want a deeper squat, you can even pull the glide board up the rails and allow your rear to go backwards, which is what we typically do in a squat. So that's going to increase the range of motion. So with the squat, we can have our feet parallel. You can have your feet staggered. You can go toes slightly in, toes slightly out, staggered toes out. You can go staggered the other way. Maybe 1 foot out, 1 foot in. In other words, start exploring different ways to do a squat so that you're working the body more dynamically and versus just one kind of plane of motion of what we call. So the next thing you can do is transitioning into a side lunge or side lying squat is most times we're having our foot toward the edge of the squat stand. In this case, we're going to move our foot back and we're going to lift our heel up and we're going to go down and up. And you're going to really feel like you're working a little bit more quad. You might feel a little bit more in the calf. And the idea is you're working almost like a push-off like you would during walking or running. If you even wanted to add a plyometric, you could do that here. I like this because you're partial weight bearing, you're not full weight bearing, so it's a lot less stress to the body when you're starting to initiate this kind of jumping motion if you're starting to run again after a shin splints episode. So then we're going to go back into our back. Calf raises, we see them a lot. So you're focusing more on the descent, the lowering of the calf than versus actually lifting up because you're working what we call eccentrically. You're working on the lengthened position. And that's really where our calves work. We don't really work functionally with lifting our heels up the time. Our calves work mostly when our foot's planted and we're working that lengthening and controlling. In this position, you can have your feet parallel. You can also have them in a V. You can have them slightly turned out, turned in. You're starting to tweak that position. One turn in, one parallel. So you're starting to get the body mixed up, again, working that functionality. So you're familiar with these exercises. The next exercise you might factor in are potentially lunges. So we're going to take off the squat stand. And this also brings a little bit more into balance into the core. We're going to go to the lower one third. We're going to talk more about the yawn to short foot, really making sure how you're planning your weight through your foot. But anything with lunges, you can add different reaches. So you can go to the floor, you can go shoulder, go up above, testing my balance. You can stick with what we call one plane, just adding this kind of reaching pattern. It's going to change how you load the back as well as your buttocks, your glutes. You can add rotational movements to the front leg as well as toward the back leg, making sure that you're not dropping in as you do so. You can add what we call a lateral overhead or just a side bending motion. So what you're trying to do is change up how you're delivering the force through your body so that up the chain from your foot, knee, hip, ankle, all the way up from your head to your toes, as we would say, you're really trying to get the body to work and know how to work as an entity that has to really work together so that you can prevent shin splints.